Well, since it's the Christmas season and all that, I figured I'd turn an episode over to my cousin Jethro, who has a quaint little Christmas story he'd like to read for all of yous. So, take it away, Jethro. The Night Before a Redneck Christmas by Cousin Jethro. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the hoose, not a creature was stirring, not even a moose. The guns were all packed in the pickup with care, with hopes that soon bullets would fly through the air. And Ma with her rifle and I with my bow had just returned from Cabela's, so we was good to go. When out on the yard I heard such a noise, I knew in a second it was them dang neighbor boys, out on their quads tearing my lawn to shreds. So I grabbed my old 12 gauge to knock some sense in their heads. I went out the back, but there was no one around, just a whole slew of hoof tracks left on the ground. But a fat guy I saw lurking just past my car was breaking into my house with a sledge and crowbar. He jimmied the lock, then gave it a boot, and wandered on in like some old senile coot. A hat full of toys he had stuffed on his head, and wore a plaid flannel jacket colored black and red. His clothes were all covered with grime and dirt, and his gut was so big he'd blown a few buttons off his shirt. He spoke not a word, which seemed fine to me. At least he weren't some schizo from the penitentiary. Then he yanked off his hat and hauled out some toys, and filled up the stockings of all my little joys. A slingshot for Cletus and some bullets for Mary, a tire iron for Rodney, a new shotgun for Harry, a gas can for Susie and barbed wire for Fred, a hacksaw for Emma and explosives for Jed. How happy they'd be when they saw all that loot. Brought tears to my eyes and I couldn't see enough to shoot. He turned to leave but went to the kitchen instead and fixed himself breakfast with our last loaf of bread. Then he fried up some bacon and polished off the juice, then rummaged through the fridge hanging out his caboose. When he went for the cake, it was all I could bear, so I fired a few warning shots up in the air. "Hey buddy," I yelled, "get your paws off that cake, or that foul wind I smell won't be all that you break." Well, all the shooting and yelling woke up the whole place, and they all came downstairs with wonder on each face. "What's happening, Daddy?" squeaked wee little Jed. "Are you gonna pump Santa all full of lead?" Then 8 little faces all turned to stare at our obese home invader with his hands in the air. And one by one they all started to whine. "Put down your gun, Daddy." I got him lined up with mine. It was then that old Santa decided to run, amidst a hailstorm of bullets from each little gun. He dove off the porch and rolled onto the deck, then jumped to his feet and ran like heck. In one single bound he jumped into his sleigh, grabbed hold of the reins and yelled yippee-ki-yay. With the crack of a whip his deer took to the sky, struggling with the weight of that flanneled fat guy. Then faster than a muskrat I watched them disappear as he yelled, "Thanks for the grub, y'all. Better aiming next year." The end.